Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now let's talk a little middleweight Canelo news, right? Canelo Alvarez, the biggest fighter in boxing, the face of boxing, many say. Some even got him at the number one pound for pound. We know that I don't, right? And the reasons why all the time. Hence, bam, right? We got a little information from a Hall of Fame trainer. I think you guys know him, Nacho Beristain, Ignacio Nacho Beristain. And, this is a guy who's trained Juan Marquez, right? Oscar De La Hoya, two Hall of Famers, right? Also Abner Mares and others. It's a Hall of Fame trainer of Mexican descent, right? He's come out and he said that Canelo Alvarez is not a pound for pound fighter, and he's not one of the best ever for Mexico, right? That sounds like me, right? And it's not hate or whatever, what people would say real quick when you don't just agree to what the people are talking about when you're talking about Canelo Alvarez, right? You supposed to just say he's the best no matter what. And there's reasons why people would say that. We know the reasons of why I say that. He's got a little more to prove. He's got people that are in his division that are in a parallel universe that he won't fight. But you say it and people, you're gonna get your thumbs down and people think you're hating about him. So let's just see what Nacho Beristain had to say. Let's just read this article real quick. And it says, Hall of Fame trainer Ignacio Nacho Beristain does not believe world champion Saul Canelo Alvarez is capable, not even capable, of becoming one of the fighters to ever come, one of the best fighters to ever come out of Mexico. He's not even capable, right? So he goes on. Canelo is recognized by many as the biggest star in the sport, certainly in the United States, which is also pertinent, and is currently the biggest star to fight out of Mexico. He captured world titles at junior middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight, right? Veteran coach Robert Garcia, right? We know who that is. Mikey Garcia's older brother, also a great fighter, believes Canelo has what it takes to become one of the best fighters to come out of Mexico. But Nacho disagrees with that position. He does not view Canelo as being one of the best to come out of Mexico, and he doesn't view him as top pound for pound boxer in the sport. Now, he goes on to explain. Let's quote, I differ from his position. I respect him, but I disagree. He's talking about Robert Garcia here. I think it's going to be a little difficult for him to end up being one of the best fighters to come out of Mexico. He's a good fighter, no doubt about that. I particularly feel how he boxes is attractive, but for him to be the best pound for pound, he's not. He's not, and he's not going to be. This is what Nacho says. He goes on. Nacho explained that Canelo, to an extent, has been protected and kept away from certain fighters in his weight classes. I think they are intelligently evading some middleweight fighters who may harm him and are taking care of his career because they are making a lot of money. To a certain extent, he's good, but I think he's not one of the best. This is Nacho. Now, I agree wholeheartedly, right? It's a lot of points. First of all, Canelo was real famous and considered in America, right? That's just like, why is that? Doesn't even really speak English. Always needs a interpreter and stuff like that. But he's more famous than those other middleweight guys. And we know what Berenstein just said is basically there's other middleweight guys that they're not letting him fight. That's what I go on about all the time. That would be Demetrius Andrade and Jamal Charlo. They're at 160 and they're champions. They were at 154 when Canelo was there, and they are champions. And they refuse to fight them. And all the elephant in the room, the thing that happens with Canelo, the other things that are being ignored, right? If he was on PEDs, you know, we had that stuff in the meat. We said, right? He was on PEDs, got busted twice, right? Clenbuterol. And all the decisions. If it's Lara decision, if it's the Trout decision to have open scoring, Jacobs was a close fight. Shoot, Golovkin. Those are close fights. But every time they're close, he's getting them. When he got whitewashed by Floyd Mayweather, somebody even gave it a draw. So, he's never been on the wrong side of a decision. These are things I'm talking about. It's not good for his character going forward. So I know Canelo knows who the hell Andrade is. He's been calling him out since 2013. He know who he is. He know who Charlo is. I used to think it was his team But they know who these guys are, and you wouldn't want someone undefeated calling you out and awesome to be right there in a parallel universe. You would want to take care of these guys normally. So that's what Beristain is talking about. Until that is done, you can't have it. And then like they say, hey, he was in the junior middleweight. Yeah, you know how many junior middleweights it was? He was close with Trout and Lara, but you had Jamal Charlo there and Jamel Charlo there at the time, right? And Demetrius Andrade, who was the champion. So he got that belt when Demetrius Andrade got stripped and he fought Liam Smith for that belt, right? Instead of Demetrius Andrade, who wanted him. That's junior middleweight. Middleweight, he fought them people that were 155, had his own weight class for about 4 fights, 155 instead of going up to 160. And still, these guys were there, didn't fight them, right? Goes up to super middleweight. He doesn't fight one of the super middleweight champions. He fights a regular champion in Roy Fielding. That's not even a belt. That doesn't even exist if they weren't making up belts for everybody. Speaking of made up belts, when Charlo was his mandatory, they gave him a made up belt called the franchise belt. So he does not have to fight Charlo. Listen, people, everybody that's in boxing and cares, right, knows these things. So that factors in. It has nothing to do with hating the person or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can't love somebody so much, right? Or have some kind of agenda of something that's blocking you to just be blind of it. And all the other fighters don't exist and it doesn't matter. And he's number one anyway. Listen, you can do that for a while, but it's not going to go forever. People know what time it is. And some people have integrity. Nacho Beristain is one of them. Yes, he's Mexican. I love to watch Canelo fight. In my opinion, too. Love to watch him fight. But due to these circumstances, we can't put him at pound for pound because those circumstances exist. It's really, really, really that simple. So listen to Berenstein. Put the pressure on Canelo to do those things. He's a middleweight. Take care of these couple of guys. Become undisputed, and there's a whole different conversation there. Because shoot, we like Canelo actually, but we just can't give him that kind of credit that he's getting being the best, and he doesn't have to prove it. That's all this is. Doma Sports Talk worldwide, and I'm about it.